Alright, sorry about the brief technical difficulty. But that aside, the race should begin any second now. And they're off. Choobs will be taking top first, which is generally agreed to be the fastest route in the game. Sage's route, Magnet first, is slower, but only by roughly 10, in practice, about 7 to 8 seconds, but it'll probably shake out to be more like 10. That said, they're both off. Sage will be introducing us to a somewhat reoccurring gimmick in the 4 stages, the Proto Man fight. He only goes down with a total of 28 buster shots, much like Sage did there. And those 28 shots will prove a good prelude for the rest of the game. Mega Man 3 is very mash intensive. As a speedrun, the large amount of mashing you need to do, compared to every other classic Mega Man title, is one of its most defining traits. The other trait is one that we'll surely see soon, which is the lag. Mega Man 3 was a bit of a rushed title as far as development goes back then, so the game tends to lag at a lot of places. Consequently, a lot of the run is focused around mitigating lag when possible. You'll notice that the more objects there are on screen, like in the Sage's room right now, the slower the game runs, so you end up spending a lot of time trying to fire primitive Mega Buster shots to clear the enemies off screen before they can cause too much lag. Of course, the Buster shots themselves also cause lag, but in most cases, it's negligible compared to the amount of lag that you're saving. That said, now that the mechanics are out of the way, they have already completed their first fights on pretty close paces. It appears that Choobs is only about 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Sage. Yep, that's Mega Man 3. At least those are the universal mechanics be worried about. So Choobs' next stage will be Shadow Man, while Sage will head over to Hard Man. Both of these stages are respective in the weapon weakness chains that Mega Man is known for. Cranky Hero. It's about something about how the NES runs the game. If you take more time to optimize the code or do some programming wizardry, the game can run a lot easier. Also, yes, the Robot Stage levels, the Robot Master levels, they tend to be around the same length. That's the Wily Fortress ones that vary more drastically. Also, yes, the bees suck. Anyway, looks like Sage definitely made his way around the monkey, and Choobs is navigating the blacked out sections of Shadow Man's stage. There are enemies that you can kill to get rid of the blackout effect, but they tend to be out of the way. So it makes more sense to leave him be. And now he's at the top section, where you need to use the top spin to take out these floating enemies. It can be pretty dangerous, so it looks like he's playing safe. Meanwhile, Sage is about to head into the second mashing Proto Man fight. Let's see how he does. Fairly well, all things considered, because it's a difficult fight because of the even terrain. Now, Choobs has to hope he doesn't get a glitch in Shadow Man, where, due to a mix of hitboxes and invincibility frames, Topspin's ammo just drains extremely quickly. Fortunately, he avoided that. Now Sage is on to the Hardman fight. The magnet missile automatically homes in on all enemies, so it's a relatively easier fight. Anyways, this is still quite the close race through 2 stages. Choobs is heading on to Gemini Man, arguably the hardest stage of the first 8 Robot Masters. Once he gets there, he'll be doing a trick known as... well, actually, I don't believe it has a formal title. But, you see, the thing about Mega Man 3 is, even the music creates lag. So, Choobs is about to perform a glitch where, normally the game makes you stop to trigger a short cutscene, but if you slide... well, yes, if you slide and then immediately jump, your momentum will carry you all the way through the hole through the barrier in the ground that Proto Man is supposed to guard. Like so. By the way, it's actually not tangible at all, since you're never supposed to interact with it. Anyway, that will cause the audio to glitch out after the whistle finishes. Which, as you can see, there is no longer any audio, and there won't be until the boss fight. It's another one of the many lag eliminating measures taking place in the run, and arguably the most interesting. Anyways, as part of the divergence in the route, Sagehero is just now gotten to Top Man stage, which, if you'll recall, Choobs started at. The routes will rejoin after the first 8 Robot Masters, and only then will we be able to get a truly clear picture of who's ahead if it's a close race heading into that joining point. Anyways, Choobs is headed through one of the most laggiest and dangerous rooms in the game, and he's navigating it pretty well. You can slide on those blocks, but it's inherently risky to do so because in Mega Man 3, you cannot jump out of a slide for the first 8 frames that you're in it, and since you travel so fast in the slide, you could spin that entire window and not be able to jump, and then slide off the platform before you can do so. Then, thus leading to a death, and the music coming back and facing the left. Anyways, Sage used Top Man's weakness, the hard knuckle, which keeps him for it to plow through him. Meanwhile, due to the way the weapon weakness chart worked in Mega Man 3, Choobs has to use Shadow Blade, which is a secondary weakness for Gemini Man. Gemini Man's normal weaknesses are the Search Snake and his own weapon, the Gemini Laser. That own weapon property applies to every Robot Master in the game, so it makes for a pretty good backup if things go wrong. Now, Sage is headed into Shadow Man, much like Choobs did earlier. There is a Proto Man fight in here, so see how he does. Okay, a few missed shots, but he managed to get him in roughly 1 down and back. So, not the worst thing in the world. Actually, still fairly good, all things considered. Anyway, Choobs now is on Needleman stage. It's generally the shortest of the 8 stages, and is often referred to as Creedle, as a... well, it's kind of a free stage that the joke explains itself. Anyways, one of the things that you'll notice as Sage approaches the flying section, the section with the floating enemies, that he can use Magnet Missile to plow through them. Arguably both safer and generally faster than Topspin. It's one of the main advantages to doing Magnet before Shadow. And here's the Shadow Man fight. Hopefully he doesn't get the glitch. Alright, he's good. Actually, no glitch at all, only used 4 balls. And now Choobs on to Needle. This is where we might see an unfortunate property for Gemini Laser come into play. You see, to help it animate it bouncing off of walls in a smooth fashion, they needed to use 3 separate sprites. That means that if it's ever on the screen for a longer time, it causes a lot of lag and slows down the game. Which means that if you miss with the Gemini laser, it has a property where it keeps bouncing around the room, creating a lot of lag in the process. So you need to be very careful with those shots. Speaking of Gemini Man as a weapon, Sage is now on to Gemini. Hopefully he'll be able to get the same music audio glitch. Let's see, he's getting closer to the... Ooh, unfortunate death for Sagehero. A bit of commentator's curse on my end. Sorry about that. Meanwhile, Choobs has a Proto Man fight, and he no longer has a Proto Man fight. And they're both struggling their way through these gimmicky sections. Pretty good time. Sage is able to use the magnet missile to ease his way through, which you can't do in top first. Magnet missile was a pretty handy weapon for that. Fortunately, Sage did get the glitch, so there won't be as much lag in the stage as there could have been. Also, so in case you're wondering, yes, the sprite flicker that just happened for Rush is a similar lag problem. And now Choobs is on to Magnet Man. Magnet Man is very weak to the Shadow Blade. It takes only 4 shots, compared to the Buster fight that Sage had to do. It's one of the advantages of Hop First. And here comes Sage to the difficult room. Ah, he's going for Rush Marine. Come on, let's see a few Rush Marines in the chat for our boy. Rush Marine in both the games he's appeared in has been pretty much useless due to Rush Jet basically outclassing Rush Marine in every way possible. So it's always cool to see him see Rush Marine in a cameo. It's more of a safety strat because there's less of a chance of falling to your death. Actually, there's no chance at all. And now Sage is on to Gemini. He doesn't have the Search Snake due to the route, so he'll have the exact same Shadow Blade fight as Choobs did. Fortunately, Gemini Man has a very easy to figure out and manipulate pattern. Also, yes, you do fall to your death if you run out of ammo, but there are a couple large weapon energy pickups scattered throughout the room, almost as if the devs wanted you to Rush Marine through it. Of course, that only applies if you use Shadow Man first, but given that Shadow Man's weapon is something of a weakness, I guess they hope that some people would kind of blunder their way into it. And now Sage is making his way through Needleman stage, again with the aid of Magnet. It's a pretty handy weapon in these circumstances, where you have weaker enemies that can be taken out, but are on unfortunate angles for the Megbuster. Meanwhile, Choobs just made his way through the Hard Man and Proto Man fight. And did a pretty good job at it. Now, Hard Man himself, once again, it's a pretty easy fight if you have a plan, which he does. And Sage should be right next to Needleman as he passes this enemy, and still, all things considered, this is a pretty close race, considering that Sage died early on in Gemini Man stage. Ooh, oh no, the laser missed. Fortunately, it can rebound and hit Needleman, but if you noticed, when the laser was bouncing around, the game was moving a lot slower than usual. That's just one of the many ways that Mega Man 3's lag is so impactful on the run. Anyways, now ChoobsX is onto Snake Man stage with its banger music. I mean, it's still second to Top Man, but Snake Man's stage theme is very good itself. Also, a fun fact about these Snake mini-bosses. You can just fly over them. And on the topic of flying over enemies, this is where we are introduced, around when we're introduced to Rush Jet. Rush is, in a word, very good in this game, and arguably broken. Unlike most other installments, where you summon him, you jump on him, and then he just plows forward, with the option to angle up or down. Rush just kind of floats under you and as a personal hoverboard. It's extremely maneuverable and very handy to, say, fly over a snake mini-boss. Not to mention, it also has a property where it only drains energy if you're standing on Rush, which means that if you hold right, Rush will continue to go to follow under you. And even if you keep jumping, Rush will still follow, but you will not lose any energy. Observe Choobs doing that right now, how the weapon energy bar barely drains. Not to mention, it has the additional side benefit of placing Mega Man off-screen for a brief moment, and since Mega Man is a sprite, which produces lag, it also cuts down on the lag that we've all grown to know and be annoyed by. So yeah, long story short, Rush Jet is a very useful item, and probably the best it's ever been. Anyways, Sage is now onto the Needleman fight. Sorry. Snake Man fight with the Needleman's weapon, the Needle Cannon. It's basically a glorified Mega Buster, so it's only used during the boss sequence. Still, this is indeed a pretty close race. Sage is only, I would wager, less than half a minute behind the Choobs. They are now both on their last stage. Which is, in this case, Sparkman. Sparkman's is weak to the Shadow Blade. So in the later part of the routing, the order doesn't really matter. So he often ends up coming last, but that's more of a routing discussion than anything else. Also, notice the spark plug-shaped enemies that have appeared on both screens. They create a lot of damaging projectiles, which also leads to a lot of lag. Another lag source, these junk block dispensers. Not only do they require a lot of smashing to get through, but they also produce a lot of lag for some reason. And now they're on to Sparkman. Fortunately, you can just take them down pretty easily. Just stand in place, spam Shadow Blades. Sage opted to use the Magnet Missile there, which meant that he cut down on the mashing he had to do. But on the other... Well, it's more of a personal preference choice. So, swapping weapons in Mega Man 3 does take time, roughly a few seconds just to make your way through the menu. Anyway, but that's universal concept. What's not are the soft robot stages. You see, to add some more content into the game, after you defeat the robot masters, you are sent to these basically hard mode on versions of four of the 8 robot masters that you already fought earlier on. You can do them in any order you want, and since you already have all the weapons, it becomes a preference of, do you want to get the difficult ones out of the way first? Choobs has elected to go for Shadow Man here. And as you might notice on Shadow Man's screen, the audio has cut out again. That's because there's more than one way to skin a cat and activate the glitch. If you trigger a death, which you do by, say, running into an instant death spike, and a screen transition on the same frame, the game plays the death sound, but Mega Man is still live, and thus the stage continues on without any music, much in the same fashion as it did in Gemini Man's stage. Of course, now that Choobs is entering the boss arena, this is Doc Wood. His weakness is the meat, and his weakness is the needle cannon. He actually uses the exact same attack patterns as Woodman from Mega Man 2. The whole thing is kind of a retro callback. So the same strategies apply, but the leaf shield's bigger. Stage, meanwhile, has opted for Doc Gemini. It's another difficult stage. This first fight will be against Doc Flash, and it's one of the main reasons why we run Rockman 3, the Japanese version of the game, instead of Mega Man 3, the English one. Right here, Flashman will freeze time, and, well, blink and you missed it. He only freezes it for a moment, fires one bullet, and then time freezes. In Mega Man 3, he instead freezes time longer and fires a whole barrage of bullets. Not sure why that difference exists, but it is one of the main reasons why we play on Rockman 3. Anyways, and Choobs, meanwhile, has another robot master, Heat Man, to deal with. He's weak to the topspin, he did not get the glitch, and, yeah, that's Doc's Shadow. Choobs is now off to Doc Gemini. Doc Gemini and Doc Shadow are generally considered the harder of the Doc robot stages. So it's not too uncommon to see people get them out of the way first. Now, Stage Hero has to deal with the Doc Bubble. The good news is he got the one bubble turn, which creates less lag, I say, as he gets 3 bubbles. It's for the same rule where more sprites equals more lag, and that's especially prevalent in Mega Man 3, which, as I mentioned before, lots of lag. Now, Sage is on his way to Doc Shadow. Let's see if he gets the glitch. I believe he did, but I'm not sure. Let's see how he's doing. Ah, good. It looks like the music did indeed cut out for him, so there won't be as much lag. Now, Choobs is on to Doc Flash. Try and keep a lookout for the short time freeze. Freeze, bullet, done. Also, observe how on Sage's end, he used Rush Jet. He's using Rush Jet to take out the screen darkeners, rather. They, in addition to darkening the screen, also create large amounts of lag, so taking them out when possible is always nice. Hey, Choobs is bringing out Rush Marine for this section. Usually you see a bit more Rush Jet here instead, but yeah, it's always great to see our boy Rush Marine getting some love. On to Doc Wood for Sage Hero. He looks like he's in pretty good shape. And he got him. Choobs, meanwhile, will be on to Doc Bubble Man. Oh, for those of you who don't know, I should have said this sooner, but these are all the robot masters from Mega Man 2, making a cameo in Mega Man 3. Also, yes, if Rush Jet didn't work underwater. That would have given Rush Marine at least some point to exist. Sadly, that isn't how it is. So, yeah. Poor Rush Marine. And Sage is now on to Doc Heat. Hopefully he does not get the top spin glitch. Looking pretty good, and he's through. Choobs is now on to Doc Needle, and as of now, they appear to be 30 seconds apart, which, considering the race time setting and Sage's unfortunate death, this is still a really good race that could go either way. On another note, Needleman stages is where you initially get Rush Jet from, in addition to the Needle Cannon after being the Robot Master. Almost in a way to reflect this, you'll find that Doc Needle is basically Rush Jet the stage. After this boss fight with Doc Airman, where you can just get up close and throw spark shots into his face. Choobs having a bit of trouble, but nothing that can't be blustered through. But yes, as I was saying, there will be a very large hole in the ground here, which Rush Jet shall be used to fly over. Once again, the runners will be hoping to A, get to the top of the screen and jump on Rush, with save on energy and lag frames. And 2, when they jump off the top of the screen, their Y coordinate, when Mega Man jumps off the top of the screen, his Y coordinate, it kind of loops down to the bottom of the screen for anyone familiar with integer underflow. So that gets the mosquito enemies out of the way as well. Sage will be looking to do the same. A bit of additional lag. Rush Jet isn't as close to the top of the screen as good, but still high enough to avoid the mosquitoes. And he's through. Choobs, meanwhile, will massacre one of the most forgettable mini-bosses in Mega Man. It's a giant mat. And now he's on to boss. Let's meet our good friend Doc Crash, or Clash, as he was in the Japanese version. Once again, similar to Mega Man 2, his pattern can be somewhat manipulated, which can be used to offset the terrible slowness of the Hard Knuckle. The Hard Knuckle is, in general, a very powerful weapon, but it's so slow you rarely see it used. Now, on to the final stage of the Doc robots, Doc Spark. Once again, you'll be seeing these enemies that create a lot of lag, and yes, Choobs went out of his way to kill one just so it wouldn't create lag and potentially eat an input. In addition to slowing down the game, Mega Man 3 lag is very notorious for eating an input that you want a lag frame, and it just doesn't come out. That's a common cause of inadvertent pitfalls that lead to deaths and time losses. Anyways, on to Doc Metal. He sadly does not have the thing where you can OHKO him with his own weapon, but he's also weak to Magnet Missile, which automatically homes in on him. So you just shoot and maybe dodge the projectiles, maybe not, doesn't matter. There's another death and at the same frame as screen transition that you can do during the spike ball section and that Choobs just went through. But unlike the other one in Shadow Man stage, which has reliable setups, the best setup you can get out of that is a 50-50, as it's dependent on subpixels, which is a whole nother story. So it's oftentimes a safer move not to go for it, because the time saved from no music compared to the time lost is steep of a risk-reward ratio. Also, yes, the game is basically lagging hard. Uh-oh, Choobs is going to have to be careful with Quick Man. He does a lot of contact damage, but fortunately the boomerangs don't deal much. His weakness is the Search Snake, which can be finicky to hit him with due to him jumping all around the room. But thanks to the backup tank he had, Choobs was able to close out the fight. Meanwhile, next up is the Breakman fight. Proto Man with the full hat. There's really not much else to say besides that, just more Mega Buster action. Uh-oh, looks like Sage is having a bit of trouble with... Oh no! That's really unfortunate. He was so close, but yeah. You can also try the Quick Man fight with the Gemini Laser, which has its own pros and cons. It takes one more shot of Gemini Laser to take Quick Man out, but you also run the risk of increasing lag when if it ever misses. But fortunately, you can get. But on the other hand, it's more convenient of a weapon as it doesn't generally stay to the ground. Anyways, Choobs is now on to the Wily stage, which are a walk in the park compared to the rock stages. Mostly because they're where you can tell the developers ran out of time in this game, which was crafted in its entirety in 4 months. So yeah, the Wily stages, they're walk in the park. Also, yes, let the record show that Quick Man is a jerk. Shout out to Dr. Wily's eyebrows, by the way. So, Revenge of the Yoku blocks here. Fortunately, they only appear in this stage, and you can just rush get around them. Now, Choobs will head on to the Kamegoro Maker fight. It basically sends out these turtles, and the timing at which they are sent out is RNG dependent. Depending on whether he goes to the right or the left, starts by moving to the right or the left, he'll spawn a turtle faster. Once the Maker does spawn a turtle, it's easy to take out with top spin. But it's still a pretty RNG heavy fight because there's like several seconds of time to lose or gain depending on how good of luck you get, if it goes to the right or if it goes to the left. Now, Choobs is on to Wily Fortress 2, which is notable for being the only stage in the game that does not have a checkpoint. It's also a very short stage, but it's not very friendly if you mess up on it. It looks like Choobs ran into a bit of menu trouble, but nothing much came of it. He picks up a knee tank, fills up the Shadow Blade ammo, and now moves on to the Yellow Devil fight. Remember this guy from the first Mega Man? Yeah, he's back. However, due to a mix of odd properties, he actually doesn't have a hitbox until all parts have formed on one side of the screen. This means that you can hide in there until you take an intentional damage boost to get a perfect setup for standing underneath the devil and jumping and mashing several Shadow Blades, which are soft weakness, into his face. If you do it properly, you get the devil, the one cycle fight. Which Choobs did, and has a reward onto Wily 3. Hopefully Sage will be able to get the same strategy. As a side note, his biggest weakness is Hard Knuckle, but yeah, it's just too slow and also can't be shot directly upward. So it gets outclassed by Shadow Blade due to its mash ability. Let's see if he gets it. And he got it. Now, Tubes will... Oh, be careful. And he makes it through the moving platforms. Those are not very friendly if you mess them up. Anyways, next Tubes will move on to the fight against the Mega Man clones. Normally, it's random, but as you can see, 2 of the 3 are intangible, and the third is real. And the third is the genuine article. It's normally random, but when the fight starts, it's always the one on the top that's the real one. His weakness is top spin, which deals damage every frame, and he also doesn't have invincibility frames. Then combine that with the unique property of the rush weapons, which is the buster shots that you fire out with them. They, unlike every other weapon, they don't disappear when you head to the menu. So, when you switch to a different weapon, they stay on screen and take on the properties of the weapon that you switch to. In this case, top spin. Observe how the bullet's finger switches to top spin, and suddenly the robot is no more. Now, Tubes is on to the refight section of the game. It's similar to, well, basically every other refight stage in Mega Man. It'll be basically the same old fights as you've seen in the Rockmaster stage, with the exception that Sage, who did Magnet first, will have Magnet weapon, and Tubes, who did Tops first, will have his the hard knuckle. Unfortunately, it's blank, but it's not too much of a time loss. He has, at the very least, I'd argue he has a good enough lead over Sage, that as long as he doesn't make any major mistakes and Sage plays equivalently enough, his lead should be stable enough to hold out for a win. Now, on to Gemini Man. His fight, however, is done with the Gemini Laser because it deals 4 damage instead of 2. Of course, you really do not want to see a miss. Oh, that was unlucky and did lose him a few more seconds because of the lag. Hopefully, the same thing will not apply in Needle's fight. In and out like a breeze. Hard man for Sage. Also, yes, even if you shoot the magnets facing the opposite direction, it still homes in on him no matter what. Pretty weird property, but it's also really funny. Ooh, really clean fight from Sage there. And now Tubes now cleared out of the stage. The actual fight with Wily, the final confrontation, won't be until the last stage. Until this next stage, rather. Oh, dang. Sage is getting really unlucky with these Gemini laser misses. He should be able to hold it out. And he does. Now, onto the Wily machine. Tubes is going to do a strategy where he shoots during this phase, he will shoot 2 snakes off screen to create lag, and then use that lag to extend his jump, and more importantly, the amount of time he can mash during the jump, and throw a bunch of stakes into Wily's face. Or, never mind, maybe that wasn't Wily. It's a Mega Man game. Of course there's a secret final boss. Now, Sage will be on to that final boss, Gamma. According to the story, Gamma is a giant peacekeeping robot that got repurposed by Dr. Wily for world domination or something. It's beyond the scope of our concerns. Anyway, the first phase has a blind spot directly beneath them, so you can just shadow blade your main phase. The second phase has no invincibility frames and a sweet top spin. Same old song and dance. And that will be GG's for ChoobsX. For real this time. Also, no, it's not Guts Man, but it looks kind of like him, which does go with the random recurring Guts Man theme. Anyways, Looks like Sage was also was able to take out Wily through a bit of a safer strat with Shadow Blades. And now he'll be on to the final boss. First, the Shadow Blades and the blind spot. And now the Rush Coil into top spin. Here's the Rush Coil. And here's the top spin. And there goes Wily. GG's for sagehero. Also, that run was only 40 seconds off of ChoobsX's PB, which in this race marathon no reset setting is a very good time. Anyways, we're about to set up for race 2 out of this best of 3 series. Place your bets as to who takes game 2, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, round 2 is about to start. And they're off. It will be the same routes as they will be taking the same routes as last time. Sage going with Magnet first, and the Tubes top first. Once again, the same lag reduction strats will apply, as will the game's general mashing. Hello, Proto Man. It looks like Sage had a tiny bit of trouble with a few missed shots, but overall nothing to be concerned about. More mashing through the enemies, as Tubes also has to do some jump mashing to deal with the laggy Met Dozers over in top man stage. Yeah, this is one of the big-time losses of Magnet Man stage, having to go through the long Yoku block section. If you go top first, you already have Rush Jet by this point. It can just easily fly over everything. Now, they're both approaching the boss corridors. And Tubes is in less than a second before sagehero. These buster fights are both somewhat difficult because at some points neither of them can be hit. Well, Top Man is doing his spin from side to side attack, and Magnet Man is at the top. Both of them, however, are arguably friendlier to the Buster only fight, as unlike most enemies unlike most of the Robot Masters who take 1 damage from the Mega Buster, the two of them take 2 damage, which makes a pretty big difference. You only need half the shots, and thus half the time lost in invincibility frames. On to Shadow Man, and on to Shadow Man for Chew. Here comes the Proto Man fight. Pretty good. If you're going to take a very specific eye to it, you'll notice that it was a bit faster, maybe by a third of a second or so compared to Sage's fight. But unless the race comes down to be really close, those minuscule time losses won't mean the time losses in games, rather, won't mean too much in the grand scheme of things. Alright. Tubes now approaches the deadly top section, taking it carefully. The top spin does obliterate the enemies in 1 hit, but also has a huge recoil effect. Meaning that if you jump too far, hit the top spin, and then get knocked back. It's pretty easy to accidentally fall into a pet. Onto the Proto Man fight. And Shadow. Hopefully he does not get the glitch, which takes away all of top spin's ammo. He does not, and it clears through. And it clears through it. And it clears through Shadow Man, no problem. Now Sage is onto Hard Man. It's a very counterintuitive name, as if you have the Magnet Missile, the fight is very easy. Yes, I know. One of the weak. On to Gemini Man. This is a pretty difficult screen, so Choobs will be looking to get through it with as few mistakes as possible. Great navigation through the pits, enemies, and the flame pillars. Takes a hit, but that's to be expected from the stage. This is really good mashing. Hopefully he gets the glitch. He does. It's not a very good wall considering that doesn't lock anyone, but Choobs is going for a slight zip glitch in Gemini stage and just got it. It's a Mega Man 3 compared to the previous two is nowhere near as zip happy, but there still exists that one trick that you can do. The tool-assisted speedrun, which can do basically anything it wants. Has done a few more zips, but as far as real-time runs are concerned, these are that's the only viable one. Now onto the Gemini room of danger and lag. Choobs is a bit of a misinput, but managed to get through it fine. On to the ladder section, using a Shadow Blade to take out the mosquito enemy, and grabbing the E-Tank. It only takes a second to grab, and gives great safety. If you'll remember, he was able to use it to bail him out of a fight that could have gone very sideways against Quickman, or Doc Quick in the previous race. It's a very marathon pace move, and so why not go for it? Now onto the Gemini fight with the Shadow Blade. Once again, Gemini has a very manipulatable pattern. He jumps if he's on the ground and you press B, which fires whatever weapon you have equipped, he jumps. If you just jump into the air and fire, he will jump and run right into the Shadow Blade. Then if you hit the ground and press B before he hits the ground, he'll stand in place for a second hit. Really, that's all there is to it. Here comes another Proto Man fight on Sage's end. Ooh, great fight. He missed very few shots and had good regular mashing and jump mashing the whole time. Now through the darkness section of Shadow Man stage. Once again, it's very laggy, but there's not much you can do about it. Fortunately, he will now be able to use the Magnet Missile to plow through the floating enemies section, throwing in some additional slides to gain some more time. Choobs, on the other end, is making his way through the end stage. It's not very difficult, so let's instead focus on the Shadow Man fight, where hopefully Sagehero does not get the glitch. He got a small bit of it. As you can see, he's used more than 4 ammo, but the severity of it can change drastically. A bit of a sketchy fight from a bit of a sketchy conclusion, rather, to Choobs' Needleman fight. But the Gemini laser never missed, so all's well that ends well. And on to Magman. Well, stage is on Gemini. This is, once again, a stage made much easier by the Magnet Missile, which he now has on hand. But he appears to be going Buster only for this section, at least until you get far enough that you have enough Magnet Missiles to last you the whole way through. The Penguin enemies are surprisingly tanky, and you only have 14 shots to work with. So you need to use them carefully. He does get the music canceling glitch, which means that after Proto Man's whistle cuts out, there will be no more music and no more laughing lost. It's one of Mega Man 3's most interesting time-saving tricks, I'd say. Anyways, Choobs is having a bit of a rough time with the Mega Man stage, but things are still going pretty well. He'll be able to save a large amount of time by simply rush jetting over everything. Remember, Stage had to wait for the cycle-based Yoku blocks and the platform forward. Meanwhile, Choobs can just blow through the whole thing. And Sage is running out Rush Marine again. Lots of love for Rush Marine today. Also, yes, it does drain energy. It does drain through its energy pretty fast. But fortunately, there is that point where you jump out of Rush Marine and into that place. It only loses a few seconds, and as much. Oh, Sage, don't scare me like that. It is safer than doing the normal strategy of taking the top route and possibly sliding on the untile-wide platforms. Either way, all is well that ends well, and he's now onto the easily manipulatable Gemini fight that I talked about earlier. And he's through with very few issues, along with ending in the middle, near the middle of the screen. Like a lot of Mega Man games, once you lose control of Mega Man once the fight ends. And the closer you are to the middle of the screen, the less time he has to walk the middle of the screen before he jumps up into his weapon and get animation. So, closer to the middle of the screen you can end the fight, the better. That's another small piece of the puzzle that makes up the Mega Man 3 speedrun. And Choobs navigates around the monkey. Those monkey enemies are really easy to get caught by, and they also deal their fair share of damage. So it's always nice to navigate around them. It feels a bit understated, but those guys really are annoying. Now, Choobs has to deal with the bees created by the large bee. They can create a lot of lag, but given that they were only on the screen for a moment, the difference they made is pretty much negligible. To Choobs having a bit of a mistake on the Proto Man fight, but he manages to bluster his way through it. And now on to hard, or rather easy man. They having a bit of trouble with Needleman, but manages to not get fooled by the jump cross and make his way through with no issues. The same applies to Choobs, who noticed how he finished the fight very close to the middle of the screen. And as such, Mega Man doesn't need to walk to the center at all to grab the weapon. It's a very small time save, but over the robot masters that you pick up a weapon on. It adds up if you execute well. And now they're both at Snake Man and his banger theme. Sage will use Rush Jet to fly over the Snake. It's worth mentioning that there is a brief zip you can do using the floor, which oscillates up and down. It is faster because you don't bring out Rush Jet, who, despite all his great perks, is another sprite on the screen and thus creates additional lag, in addition with Snake's projectiles. However, Rush Jet is also a lot safer and, rather more consistent. So in this marathon setting, it's not very surprising at all to see him being used to bypass the mini boss instead of the clip. And Sage is through the mini boss, and so is Choobs. This is a very close race. They're both on the same stage, and Choobs is only roughly 10-15 seconds behind. Very good race throughout thus far. No deaths for either runner, too. Onto the Snake Man fight with the needle cannon. Few missed shots from Sage's end. And he gets also standing on top of the platform. Note how Mega Man basically goes straight into the jump. Choobs, unfortunately, was not able to end there. Well, he was airborne at the exact moment he was doing it. He loses all control and momentum, so he kind of just fell back to the ground. Now, all that remains for Sage is Sparkman. He's now roughly 15 to 20 seconds ahead of Choobs. Very good race from both sides. A very good race from both sides. Both of them are making their way through the stage with very few issues, which is pretty nice considering that you see all the flashing tiles that border all the surfaces. Those things all create lag, and given that the screen is blanketed with them, Sparkman stage is, on average, the laggiest in the game. There are laggier rooms, sure, but you combine Sparkman stage with these chunk block generators, which also create a lot of lag in themselves. So it's pretty rough going, and it's not too uncommon to see a dropped input. And looks like Sage is on to Sparkman. Once again, it's a pretty easy fight, especially if he stops there. But if he stops near the top, where you can gain a couple seconds, but either way, you just throw a bunch of shadow blades into his face, and he kind of melts. Looks like Choobs got a better pattern, as now Sparkman did not have to jump around as much before he could start hitting him. Not to mention that Choobs will end the battle closer to the center, and thus spend less time having to move to the center to pick up the weapon. Now, on to the dock stages, also known as Mega Man 2 Round 2 Electric Boogaloo. Sage will opt to get Doc Chimney out of the way first. in the mental standpoint, you can do these in any order, but just getting the most challenging one out of the way first is a bit of a relief because after the Knock Robot stage, it only gets easier. So just keeping that general downward curve in difficulty arguably keeps the run on a gentler pace as nerves increase the longer the run goes on. Choobs, meanwhile, will take Shadow Man stage. Both of the stages are difficult compared to the other two Dock stages. I believe that Choobs got the audio canceling glitch and is saving time on lag. Yes. He did get the glitch where you trigger a death on the same time you trigger screen transition, or exact same frame, and as a result, you end up ruining music queue and saving time on not having to deal with additional music lag. And he's through good old Dockwood without many issues. Sage is now making his way through another one of the laggier rooms in the game with the Rush Jet. In addition to using Rush Jet and Rush Marine, you can also use a combination of damage boost, invincibility for aims, and oh dear, that's unfortunate. Maybe a miss input from Choobs. So we'll send him into the lava, or whatever it is that's there. Most likely a bottomless pit, given the lava on the background, but doesn't really matter. Now, Sage will have to hope for a good bubble pattern, and he does not get it. 3 bubbles increases the lag a lot, but fortunately he's able to take out Dock Bubble before he can throw up another 3 bubble charade. Now Choobs is on to Dock. He'll be hoping that he doesn't get a glitch and run out of ammo. Looking good so far. Ooh, he even got a double hit, which is well, it's not exactly a glitch, more of an exploit. If you hit him on the first possible frame that he comes out, then because of the way that the invincibility frame timer lines up with the knockback frames segment, you can slide in a second one and deal 2 hits when you normally can only deal 1. It is a time save, but it's pretty finicky, so not something that you conscientiously go for as if you just hope you get it. And Choobs is through the first long screen of Gemini and with no magnet to spare. Choobs is getting a lot of lag from the 3 tadpole enemies. Yeah, it's a bit of a rough day. Meanwhile, Sage just made his way through Dockwood, man. And, well, now head on to the arguably easier second stretch. So, that's mostly because you have the wonders of the Magnet Missile to take out all the enemies up ahead. Also, yeah, I think that you can also lose Topspin on heat. Something about how Topspin interacts with invincibility frames and active frames. Not necessarily something weird about Shadow Man. The only thing weird about Shadow Man is the slight visual glitch in his stage slot video. Also, Choobs going for Rush Marine. Let's hear it for Rush Marine. And now Sage is at Dock Needle. Once again, there's not too much can be said about Dock Needle, as a lot of what would be enemies and obstacles are replaced by these tracking spike gimmicks, or needles rather. It looks like Choobs got a 3 bubble pattern, which creates a lot of lag, and then followed up with the 2 bubble. Ideally, he only throws out 1 bubble. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. That fight is a place for some pretty good time save, like 3 or 4 seconds, but you can lose or gain up like 3 or 4 seconds, depending on a balance of how well you time the shots and how much time you lose to lag, and which is dependent on RNG. And Sage had a bit of a weird finish with the Dock Air, relatively straightforward fight. But he's able to make his way through without any difficulties. Now onto the Rush Jet section. I'll be trying to spend as much time off screen as possible, both to save on Rush Jet ammo, because it only drains when you're standing on it, and to get Mega Man's sprite off screen, which reduces lag. Choobs, comparatively, is only another 30 or 40 seconds behind. Let's see if he gets a good fight. Pretty good RNG thus far. Now onto the mini boss. Sage had a bit of trouble, but managed to get through without any real difficulties. A bit of a time loss for sagehero, but not too much of a worry. The second mini boss is easier than the first. And now on to Dock Crash. Once again, if you weren't here for round 1, Flash's pattern can't be manipulated by pressing certain buttons, which allows you to work around the slowness of the hard knuckle. Say, firing it just above him, and then letting Crashman jump right into it. And Sage is on to the final Dock stage, Dock Spark. Once again, he's taking out the enemies to reduce the already heavy amount of lag based on the stage. So, Choobs, meanwhile, had a bit of a weird Crashman fight, but was able to clean it up and didn't lose too much time from it. He will be joining Sage in Dock Spark, roughly half the stage behind. Here's what? Yeah, it's a pretty easy. Yeah, it's a pretty easy fight. Let's see. He probably will not go for the glitch. There's just too much to lose. He does not. And on to the second half, but while Choobs makes his way through the first. Alright, time for the moment of truth on Choobs' end. Dock... Oh, never mind, it's time for the moment of truth on Stage's end. Dock Metal Man will go down pretty easily. Well, Dock Quick is one of the trickiest fights in the game. He's going to go with Search Snake, and a bit of a miss. Another miss. but he only needs 2 more hits. 1 more hit. Yeah, that was close. He had 2 health left, but managed to use his invincibility frames to close it out. So, good job from sagehero. Now on to Breakman. More Buster mashing. It's another fight that's more difficult than usual because of the irregular stage shape. But it's like a plateau, mostly flat on the top, so you can just do a regular fight there, and then just lose a bit of time when he dips down at least, but it's not that much. Now here's the... Uh-oh, Choobs in a bit of trouble. You might want to bust that E-Tank. Yes, he does. Oh, he actually has a second of safety. Alright, tell me another hit, and Choobs makes way through. For those keeping score, that's 2 for 2 one times that a safety tank has helped against the Doc Quick fight. I think Sage might have wanted to go for the extra E-Tank there, but decided against it. Okay, he takes damage boost to gain some time by sliding on the spikes instead of with invincibility frames instead of jumping. Onto the Wily stages. A breath of fresh air after the stress of the robos. Here are the Yoku blocks that do absolutely nothing, haha. And onto the Kamigoro Maker fight. Sage will be hoping to see the boss. We'll be hoping to see fast patterns, but can be indicated by the boss moving right from a standstill. As you'll notice, if it goes left, it takes a long time to spawn the second turtle, but if it goes right, it comes out much faster. So that was 4 lefts and 1 right from Sage, which is pretty unfortunate RNG. And if Choobs gets a lot more right movements instead of left ones, he will gain a few seconds and help narrow that deficit. That gap that Sage is slowly opening up. Here's the fight. 1 to the left. Wow, that was really fast. 2 to the left and 1 to the right. So, all things considered, decent RNG, and it will save him a few seconds over Sage, who's now already on to Easy Devil. Fortunately, there is a pretty consistent setup that you can do for it. He'll inch his way forward, intentionally take damage, take it again, and now he's in the perfect space to spam Shadow Blades into Yellow Devil Mark II and Easy Devil. On to Wily 30. A lot of lag created in this room by that enemy who throws out a lot of projectiles. So Sage will still lose that bit of time, which Choobs may be able to gain back if a similar mistake doesn't occur. Oh, come on, Puppet, the results are the same. Sorry, Pop Dot. Similar YouTuber. Ooh, now that was not an easy double from Choobs' side. Pretty unfortunate, but he should have enough health to just run through him on the second phase. Meanwhile, Sage is going to use the rush coil glitch where the bullets stay on and take the properties of topspin. Stay on screen rather, take the properties of topspin. And the fact that the real robot of the three always spawns on the top. Well, Choobs still did get a bit of time back by having a smoother transition through that one room where Sage stumbled on. But he still has a lot of work to do to close the gap. So, it off with the Snake Man fight. In this fight, the positioning in the refights, positioning near the middle of the screen does not matter because since there's no weapon animation to deal with, you're actionable right after destroying the boss. So, and then just becomes take as little damage as possible and as close to the teleporter as possible. Looks like Choobs was able to use the glitch exploit combo to take out the copy robots, just much the same way that Sage was. So he'll be through to the refights as well. Here's the Hardman fight. Easy peasy. Do a bit of a rough go through that room for Choobs. He still has a lot of work to do. Here's the Gemini fight. Fortunately, there have been, just as I say that, a really unfortunate miss, which will cost Sage some time. Oh no, and he got another. And it just misses as well. This is not very fortunate, but it finally bounces back. But yeah, that was a really unfortunate time loss. Here comes Choobs with the Shadow Man fight. Loses a bit of pop ammo, but nothing much to be concerned about. Pop is one of the less important weapons. Here's the magnet fight. That was the magnet fight. It's a pretty fast fight with the weakness. Well, Choobs will be moving on to Hardman. Right as Sage gets to Sparkman. A bit of a missed shot there, which is unfortunate. A few, but... So, overall, not the best fight, but he has a big enough lead that, unless a lot of those small mistakes occur, I think it should be pretty good. Ooh, a bit of a bank shot from Choobs. Oh no. A really unfortunate miss, but he's able to recover, force Gemini Man to jump into the laser, and cut his losses. Onto the Wily machine. The first phase will see snakes getting mashed into the turret, and the second stage will probably throw out a couple of lag snakes to slow it down and mash as many into Wily as possible. Unfortunately, he was not able to fully take him out, but a couple Shadow Blades, which deal 2 damage each, and wrap things up. Looks like the magnet fight on Choobs' end got a bit away from him. And he still has Sparkman to go. Also, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Sage is on PB pace. So it's looking pretty good for him. As he enters the final boss. So, phase 1, Shadow Blades. We've seen this one before. And phase 2, he'll rush coil into topspin. Here's rush coil onto topspin, and time for Sagehero. That was a great run, all things considered. Let's get some GGs in chat. Choobs did get the fast kill on machine, but unfortunately it's a bit too late for time saves such as that. He still has the Gamma fight to go. Okay, here goes to bit of an early shadow plane miss, but that should only that in a vacuum would only cause a bit of time loss. And not mention stage is already finished. Oh wow, what a run from stage! At one point, he was over a minute ahead of his PP with gold. Very impressive. The setting time was probably a 38.9. His timer stopped, or his timer stopped a bit late, but making him finish just a minute before Tubes. So yeah, this has been a great series thus far, and I believe this is now the first best of best of 3 match that actually goes to game 3 this entire tournament. So, all right, everyone, buckle up for game 3 in a few minutes. I shall return then. GG's to Tube, of course. GG's. Alright, it's a bit of an update. On that last race, sagehero got a 50 or so second PB. Let's get some PB hype in the chat. Oh, SpeedGaming 2, you're rating with a party of 75. Welcome to the show! Game 3 should begin in a couple of minutes. Okay, I have confirmation that the race will begin within the next minute. Okay, Game 3 is about to start. Who shall win and move on to round 2? Hey, thanks, Eric. And they're off. Same routes as always. Sage going magnet first, and Choobs top first. Once again, Choobs will have to deal with the bit of a lag in this early section, where, whilst the worst stage has to begin with are those annoying magnet enemies. Time for the first mash check of the game. Sage did a very good job there, making sure that most of the Mega Buster shots did not miss Proto Man and create additional lag and opportunities where he can only shoot 2 instead of the regular 3. For those who don't know, there's 3 Buster shots per 3 Buster shots at once limit, so you can't just needlessly spam them everywhere. Great mashing from Choobs to get past the Cat mini-boss. And now Sage will have to play the Yoku block waiting game. Some more good mashing from Choobs. Three jumps is to take out the mini-bosses standard. So, and Q takes a ridiculous amount of skill, so considered the rest doing a pretty good job so far. Stage damage boosts to get through the enemy, and now they're both approaching the boss corridors within, wow, like a second of each other. Onto their respective bosses. Sage will want to see Upman's pattern is guaranteed, while Sage will want to see Magnet do this pattern where he keeps jumping back and forth, and in fact manipulate it by taking damage. Also, yeah, as far as runner skill goes, I think this is seeding-wise, it's the closest matchup, I believe. You can't quote me on that, but I believe that to be the case. Actually, never mind. It appears that they still have the bracket from the previous race up. Whoops! I guess they were doing a Super Metroid randomizer beforehand, but that doesn't really matter now. On to Shadow Man and Hard Man. Sage uses a safer strat where he rush coils up to take out the large bee enemy before it can release the smaller bees. Oh, hey, thanks for putting the link for the match in. Let's see. Well, Choobs and Sage Hero is the 14-19 matchup, so not the closest one that we could have had, but still the runners are pretty evenly matched in skill level as Choobs makes his way through the lag generator darkness section of Shadow Man. Onto the Proto Man fight. Generally great execution from Sage Hero there. He's able to get up in Proto Man's face and throw a lot of shots into him despite the unfavorable positioning. And well, looks like Choobs made his way through Shadow Man without many difficulties. And Sage will likely make his way through Hard Man with much the same, and with no magnet ammo to spare. Note how, during the brief invincibility frames of the second last shot, he did a brief slide to the center of the screen, so when this animation started, Mega Man did not need to go spend more time walking to the center of the screen. So yeah, very good work from the runners thus far as they head to their third Robot Master. Choobs to Gemini Man, and Sage to Top Man. Choobs will be looking to get the special audio canceling glitch. Hopefully he gets that. Well, Sage makes his way through Top Man stage, but with the magnet for convenience, especially during the mashing cat segment, and the hard knuckle, Top Man's weakness. As you can see, Choobs indeed gets the glitch, allowing him to both save time by skipping the cutscene and save time by reducing music lag by eliminating it entirely. Now, one of the benefits of Magnet First, the magnets just plow through the cat mini-boss enemy, whereas Choobs had to buster through them. You'll see this in action again, along with the Mega Man airwalk screen transition. Always a bit of a funny sight. Now, Choobs is in the midst of the difficult Gemini room. Takes out that one for safety. Nearly fell off. But he's looking pretty good. Takes out a couple for safety. Well, most likely grab the E-Tank. And makes it through without any other difficulties. Now, Sage will have the Top Man fight, but with the hard knuckle, which drastically speeds up the entire fight. And also essentially stays a bit of a distance away, allowing him to save time by not having to walk the center of the screen during the entry. still a pretty minuscule time save, but between 8 Robot Masters, it does add up to more meaningful seconds. Choobs also managed to finish pretty close to the green, but he still had to walk a slight amount. The Gemini man fight is pretty by the book and manipulatable, so it's not too hard to finish near the center of the screen there. Now Sage will be doing Shadow Man, again with Magnet Missile, which will help him greatly through the floating enemy section. Choobs, meanwhile, will be on to Needle or Friedel Man, and he hopefully won't run into any trouble there. Here's the proto fight. Pretty good fight from Sage. Didn't miss many shots there either. Sage making his way through the lag generator room. Very well, nothing. As far as rooms go, well, annoying. It's not very deadly, but mistakes still can always happen. Shoot while through the men section as Sage allows through enemies with Magnet Missile. And now Sage shall begin the Shaoman fight. Hopefully he will not encounter the weapon training glitch. Okay, a bit there, but outside of that, all is well as Choobs arrives at Needleman. Hopefully there won't be any misses. That may be caused by random pattern. A bit of a sketchy finish there, but he still close it out regardless. Sage now makes his way to Gemini Man. Well, the next on Choobs' route will be Hard. Sage having a bit of trouble with this section. All the enemies and projectiles can leave a lot of lag. But I was able to get through fairly well. Choobs now on the Hardman and is able to use the Shadow Blade to take out the B enemies. While Sage got the audio canceling glitch. Yeah. He's going for the depth. Unfortunately, he was a bit too far away and wasn't able to get turned around in time. Choobs now think his way through Hardman while Sage boosts through these mini boss. Side note, normally they do not look like that. They're kind of like larger versions of the penguin enemies you see earlier. But it's a side effect of the music canceling glitch, which causes them to look all weird. They're the only other thing affected in Sage, though, so... Anyways, Sage is busting out Rush Marine again. Rush Marine High. And like he'll be able to clear out the rest of the room. And he's through. On Choobs' side, we have Pro-Man fight, and well, it could have gone better. He's still doing pretty well. He is a bit behind his PB and has lost some time on the stage, as indicated by his player. Sage, meanwhile, and maybe a bit of trouble with Gemini, but manages to clear it out without making it. Well, Choobs has unfortunately run out of Magnet Missile from something that happened earlier in the stage, meaning that I'll have to resort to the Buster fight. I'll have to play this a lot safer. But fortunately, he has the defense to provide a good safety net. Yeah, it's a really unfortunate time loss, but what can you do? Sage now makes his way to Needleman. Yeah. Choobs' route is up first. Sage is going Magnet first. Yeah. Now, these screens of Needle Magnet, not too much to say about them, but a bit of an annoying thing with the Magnet enemies. Their properties where they somewhat cancel your vertical momentum can be pretty annoying, especially when you're over instant death gaps. Right, Choobs makes his way through Proto Man. Pretty good fight there. Didn't miss many shots. Oh yeah, you're right. I guess I missed that. Whoop. Yeah, he is now in Magnet Man. Sometimes when it's an occasional mistake when you're in the menu and you accidentally the robot master second screen, and then you accidentally press the wrong button, then A. And since this is an older Mega Man game, there's no way to easily exit the stage. And your only other options are intentionally dying and going back to the right stage. However, that requires a game over, and Hardman stage doesn't have any instant death pets early on. Oh yeah, it happens. The other option is to just play the stage out normally and to go with the Buster fight. Well, the end result was pretty unfortunate, but yeah, it does happen. Choobs now has a lot of ground to make up, as Sage now has a pretty good lead heading into Snake Man. No, Choobs is considering that mistake and the time lost due to not having the proper weakness for Hardman. Choobs is not that far behind. They're still on the same stage. So he has more than enough. He has more enough time to make up for it. Remember, in all likelihood, this race won't end for over another 20 minutes. So it still could go either way. Anyways, Sage and now Choobs will use Rush Jet to a bit of trouble there to clear the mini boss. So Choobs is roughly a mini boss, or well, half the stage behind. Fun fact: these clouds are actually somewhat poorly programmed, and if you stand on them wrong when they're coming out of their dispensers, you can actually somehow get zipped off to the side of the platform and fall to your death. Fortunately, Rush Jet exists, so never need to deal with it. But it can be a bit of a casual trap if you don't know what to expect. Anyways, the snake fight. Sage intentionally delayed a bit the final shots a bit, so he would be able to jump up onto the middle platform and once again save that large handful of frames by not having to move as much during the animation. Now, Choob's doing the tried and true strategy of jumping to save on Rush Jet ammo. His is a bit lower than usual, but it can still be easily retracted, and reducing lag. Okay, so looks like Choobs got the kill pretty effectively. And Sage is now has a pretty good 30 to 40 second lead. Now Sage will switch to Magnet and make his way through the next section. The Sparkman. You can take that guy, that Met Dozer out with Buster Shots. But it's also... But depending on how you route up your weapon usage in the stage, which can vary based on runner preference and time save. For instance, using the magnets then means that you run out of magnets now, and then can transition to Shadow Blade, the boss's weakness, for the rest of the stage. Right. A bit of a laggy room, which can be dangerous, but sagehero handled it masterfully. Onto the Sparkman fight. Once again, there's a bit of RNG prevalent, so he'll just stand inside, mash, and that's a alright pattern, all things considered, but there still can be better. Time for... Now, on Sage's end, the Doc Robot stages again. I believe that he leads off with Doc Gemini. Yes, he does. Well, Choobs will be wrapping up Sparkman. Got a pretty good pattern, all things considered, and was able to end the fight in the center of the screen, so... Yeah, great luck and great fight. Now into the Doc stage. And yes, it is true. If there's going to be a lead change, it will likely be here in the Doc pose stages. They're generally agreed upon to be the best and be the hardest in the game. So Sage is will really want to play this one well. Otherwise, who knows what will occur. Onto Doc Flashman. I don't think that Choobs got the sound glitch set up, and as such, I believe he'll have to play Shadow Man stage with more lag than usual. If usual is getting the glitch because of the setup. As you can already see, the game's running pretty slowly, and it's not the best. Yeah. Meanwhile, Sage will elect to take Rush Jet through the section of Doc Gemini. This is also a pretty laggy screen, but he's able to power his way through it. Now, Choobs now has our good friend Doc Wood to deal with. As long as he plays the fight by the book and makes sure that he ends up on the right side of the boss and times the shots correctly, which he does, and should get well. He is at very low health though, so phew, really close shave for Choob, but fortunately he will be able to pick up the instant health drop directly after the boss fight. Meanwhile, Sage was able to polish off Doc Bubble without many issues. And we'll now move on to Doc Shadow, his preferred second stage. Let's see if he can get the setup. Yeah, that's the slowest setup, but it's also the easiest. Just by going to the left side of the screen, rightmost Oh no. A bit of a blooper where Sage tried moving right too soon after falling off ladders. Unfortunately, that's... Oh, wow, really tense moment. Choobs managed to use his spare E-tank to get through the Doc Heat, but yeah, nerve-wracking moment there. Also, about the setup, you can, if you want to see the glitch for yourself, you can execute it pretty easily just by on the spike fall segment, going to the right edge of the screen, tapping left, sliding once, and then sliding again and holding left. Then, as long as you release it during the speed transition, the death glitch will occur. It's pretty interesting. But, yeah, there are greater things at stake. Fortunately, Sage's death did not cost him much time. The same can be said to Choobs's unfortunate death, which also took place in the first screen. But that will have the adverse effect of him having to buster his way through the whole screen, as I think he already used a bit of magnet ammo. Now, looks like Sage was able to get through Duckwood without too much trouble. Now he'll be able to magnet missile his way through the next screen. So Choobs makes it through the second time without any issues. Sage gets a large energy refill, which doesn't really serve any purpose, unfortunately, so... On to Doc Heat. What Sage really wants to see here is a lucky double hit, and not an unfortunate weapon train glitch. Looks like a lot of weird dancing around, but he manages to close it out and only lose a couple seconds along the way. On to Doc Flashman. There's the brief time stop. Bit of a weird pattern, but he manages to close it out nonetheless. On time for Doc Needle. You can use Gemini lasers to clear out the initial hedgehog enemies. I don't know. Their spike keeps on at cast spikes. Looks like Choobs has gone Rush Marine. Looks like one final encore for our boy. As he'll approach the ending segments of Doc Gemini and get some nice health pickups along the way. A lot of lag from Sage on that room, but fortunately it didn't mean too much in the end. Okay. Now they'll both be entering their boss fights around the same time. Sage will want to try and get through the air shooter tornado attacks as fast as possible and to throw spark shots to his face. Well, Choobs wants as few bubbles as possible. He got 2, which is not the worst, but not the best either. And the second 2 as well, as they both take out their boss at roughly the same time. Pretty nice synchronization there, I don't tell myself. And Choobs' next stage will be Doc Needle. Sage now making his way through the Rush Jet segment, jumping off the top of the screen to reduce lag and lure the mosquitoes away and save Rush Jet energy. We've all seen this one before. A bit of a stray missile hit on Choobs' end. But fortunately, it's not this isn't a stage you're likely to die from damage in. Now, Choobs is on to Doc Air. They'll be the same thing as you've seen before. While Sage takes out the next mini boss, and now all he has to do is take out the Doc Flashman. or Doc Crash Man. He's Clash Man in Japanese for some reason. Once again, he'll be able to use his Clash Man's reactively based attack script to force jumps when convenient, right into the hard knuckle. He's running into a bit of trouble, but managed to close it out. Fierce, meanwhile, is maybe a minute at most behind, making his way through the Rush Jet segment. Now onto Doc Stark, the last of the stages in the Doc Robo cycle. Choobs makes his way through the Med boss. Oh dear, that was unfortunate on stage then, but fortunately, that death was closer to the beginning of the stage, so it shouldn't lose him too much time. Yes, he's through that the segment where he previously died already. Meanwhile, Choobs is able to get through the Doc Crashman fight with very few issues. But better for Sage on his side than sagehero. So that's just one step closer to trying to mount a comeback. He still trails Sage by about half the stage, though. So a few magnet missiles there accidentally hit the last few iframes, but it's not something to really be worried about. Sage does not go for the music canceling glitch. A safe move, definitely. If he missed that, then, well, I believe you still need to do the Metal Man fight again. So it's, yeah, you don't get actually scratch that. You don't get the checkpoint until you hit the bottom of the chute. So if you missed that, you would have to replay the entire stage again. It's not very safe at all. On to Sage will be going with Surge Snakes. Pretty good fight thus far. A bit of a miss, but he manages to get through pretty easily. Now Choobs is onto Doc Metal. Well, Stage Hero enters Breakman, also known as Proto Man with the cool hat. To a bit of a weird fight on Choobs' end, but due to the health refill energy capsule at the end, he shouldn't need to worry about losing by damage, at least unless his Quick Man fight goes really sour. Now Sage is on to the Wily stages with his lovely featuring Dr. Wily's extremely flexible eyebrows. I have no idea why that was a defining characteristic over the 8-bit Mega Man titles, but it is what it is. Here's Doc Quick. Alright, he's... Uh-oh. Choobs is a bit low on health. Oh no! Yeah. I'm not sure if he had any E-tanks left. Yeah, I don't think he does, so... The sheer amount of damage that Doc Quick deals on contact is really hard to deal with. Yeah, it deals nearly a fourth of the health bar. Not to mention the additional chip damage added in with the boomerang, so... But fortunately, Choobs is able to clear out the second attempt without major difficulties, but that's still a major blow to a comeback effort, as he's still, as he's now a full stage behind sagehero. Speaking of sagehero, I want to see the Kamigoro Maker enemy move right, or rather, start by moving right as much as possible. Do not get it there. To get it there. And you can see whenever he goes left, it takes longer to spawn turtle. So, yeah, 3 rights and 2 lefts. Pretty good luck, all things considered. Meanwhile, Choobs will just be heading into that stage as he was able to take out the Breakman without any difficulties. On to Wily 2. This is a side note. This stage has no checkpoints, so yeah, Sage will really want to make sure to go in and out quickly. Deaths are really annoying there. So Choobs grabs the spare E-Tank. Pretty good decision. It's a race. Things might go wrong, and he still won't want to lose the chance the chance of, well, saving a run for only a couple seconds of time loss. Anyways, it's easy devil time. Or at least it will be once the yellow devil spawns in. He's not the most speedrun friendly of boss designs. Choobs having a bit of trouble through a Wily 1. Okay, easy devil. And the Sage makes it through. Easy devil. Okay, so, not the best luck for Choobs, the Kamigoro Maker. Ooh. Yeah, this is pretty unfortunate. I think it went right 1 time fewer than it did in stage run. So, yeah, a couple seconds lost there. Choobs is now a full stage behind and has some serious work due to amount of comeback effort. Here comes Sage through the moving platform sections, and he's through well. Anyways, it's time for the glitch. Execute. Oh no, he kind of missed it. Oh dear. Yeah, if you misspace the shots, that can happen. But fortunately, the backup plan is top spinning into them yourself, which, as far as backup plans go, is a pretty good one, given that it still takes out the enemy regardless. Anyways, Choobs will be looking for Choobs going for easy double now. Okay, 1, 2. And he got it with only 4 health or so to spare. Sage, meanwhile, is now onto the refights. Take man first. Bit of a weird scuffle there, but takes the energy and runs. Shadow Man's next. Bit of a weird start, but he manages to clear it out pretty easily. Next up, Top Man. I want to get up close to use the hard knuckle. Good fight. Choobs a bit of trouble with the moving platforms in that room, but it's pretty easily. Sage, the hardman fight, also clears it out easily. Next on the list is Gemini Man. Well, looks like Choobs got the faster version of the kill. Bit of a weird, another bit of a weird fight, but it really doesn't lose that much time, and he has a large enough lead to not worry about making small 2 or 3 second mistakes. Fortunately, he did not make one against Needleman. No Gemini laser missed there. Here's the magnet fight, in and out in the breeze. Finally, we have Sparkman. Choobs has now just entered the refight stage, but is several robot masters behind. So Choobs still has 7 more robot masters to go before he can head to Wily 5. Now, Sage really will want to just cleanly execute this fight with the lag stakes. The first phase is essentially free. Here comes the second. He'll throw out a couple of lag snakes, jump. Oh dear! It appears that the match not go well. Fortunately, he can resort to his backup of using an E-tank to take more hits and then throwing multiple shadow blades, each of which deal 2 damage in his face. Now Sage is on to the final boss, Gamma. Choobs is still making his way through 3 fights with an unfortunate Gemini miss there. Oh, and another. And the third, yeah. Not his day. Okay, slight misinput, but nothing to be worried about. He is now 1 top spin away from finishing the 2-1 comeback. And that's it. GG's to sagehero. Choobs, meanwhile, still has a few robot masters to go through. But he's on to the last of them, Sparkman. In and out. Now all it's left to do is to close out the final boss battle, which as far as game things go, actually is not a very final boss battle. Gotta love the tried and true Mega Man tradition of saying, "Oh, the final boss is here," but then adding on actual final boss battle after Dr. Wily makes an full escape. So here are the lag snakes, the mash, and you got him. You need to mash 7 shots into Dr. Wily there because each attack of Search Snake deals 4 damage. Fortunately, he's through, and all that's left is the final boss. And for Gamma, I just exit Gamma, and now it's nothing but a rush coil into a topspin, and GG's to ChoobsX. And so concludes what I believe to be the last match of the first round of the Mega Man 3 tournament. Actually, I believe there's still another one. There's still another one coming. Yes, we... Actually, yeah, that was the last match of the first round. Great way to conclude the introductory series to the tournament. The next rounds will start as soon as tomorrow, along with the along with the bonus bracket for the losers bracket. So yeah, GG's Choobs, GG's to sagehero for giving us a trio of great runs from both sides. Anyways, if you wouldn't mind to stick around longer, we may have a post-game interview with either of them in the works. So yeah, maybe stick around. Maybe stick around for that for a few minutes. Oh, we have the post race interviews in place with both Choobs and sagehero. Welcome aboard. Oh, sagehero.
Hello.
You did.
Fun.
And I see Choobs is here too.
Hello. Jeez.
Hey.
Well done, buddy.
Yeah, that was a great run. It was in fact our first best of 3 that actually went into game 3 throughout the whole tournament thus far.
Nice. I'm glad we
Yeah.
got on the
Nice.
show for everybody.
Yeah, it was good. I'm sure there'll be more of that to come.
Yeah. It was a lot. Like, you kind of start running out of material when you get to race number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand it. Yeah.
That's
Still,
why I died a lot of times, so I would give you something to talk about.
The first game you almost PB'd, right, Choobs? Or you were pretty close.
He was-
I was probably a minute off of what my PB was.
Okay.
I think you were like 30 or 40 seconds off. That's what I heard at least.
Yeah, that's about right.
But yeah, speaking of PBs, Sage, on round 2, I believe you got a 50-second PB in the middle of the race.
Something. I'd have to look at it. But yeah, it was. My last time was 39:05 or something. So it's like a 55-second PB. Pretty intense for a race.
Yeah, I believe that they were reformatting the splits at one point, and there was one stage where you had a gold split, and were like a minute 12 seconds ahead.
Yeah. I was probably, if I didn't just mess up refights, I just kept missing with the Gemini laser, I probably could have gotten a 37. I was on pace. It happened.
Yeah. The missed Gemini laser is merciless.
Then to do it.
Speaking of
Yep.
Naduas, game 3 there and the refights, 3 Naduas on Gemini.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nothing connected.
Yeah, that was rough. I mean, hey, you were giving me more stuff to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah, man. I think at that point, Sage was already done. It was just like, let's just get this thing out of the way. And
Yeah, I
everything
think-
was missing.
Yeah, I think Sage actually wrapped up. Yeah, I think that actually was about when Sage
Yeah.
finished.
That third run would have been a PB if I hadn't just PB'd. It was silly.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you know the order. You're supposed to get a smaller PB first and then a big
Yeah.
PB.
So I've ruined it now. I've PB'd by too much.
Let's just
Yeah,
call it a.
Dude, you
Let's just call it a.
went all in on round 1 in this set of games here. It's all
Yep.
downhill now.
Yeah. I'm up against Becco in the next round, so I'll see you guys in the losers bracket pretty soon.
We'll make it
Yeah.
easy for you.
But I mean, hey, this was you had a pretty good run. I mean,
Yeah.
55, nearly a minute of a PB in a race setting. That's a great accomplishment, especially after going down 1-0.
Hmm.
The man
Yeah.
performs under pressure. What can we say?
Yeah, races make for interesting scenarios. I once had
Yeah.
near 3-minute PB on one myself, so you get a lot of interesting stuff out of them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this was fun. Good times, man.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. I was glad we could do this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Shameless plug: the second round will continue. The second round will continue as soon as tomorrow. I believe we have another couple of races on deck for then. Type !MM3 in the chat, and you should be able to see the schedule for upcoming races. But as it is, that's the issue for tomorrow, not today.
Yep.
So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you all had a blast. Let's get a good virtual applause for Choobs and Sage for putting on a great show tonight.
Have a good night, guys. It was a lot of
Have
fun.
We'll see you guys later.
If you'll
See ya.
pass out. Take care.
Peace.